Michelle Bangert, Managing Editor of Quality. We're here today at the MAX event in Nashville, and with me is Sainyam Arora, our 2026 Quality Professional of the Year. So Sainyam, welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
We're so happy you could come. So to start off with, could you tell us how your AI workshop went yesterday?
Yeah, I started it off with a very insightful and powerful conversation. It was a lot of enriching conversation. So I actually entered the panel thinking maybe a lot of people might not show up, but we had a great audience. We talked about diversity perspectives in AI, and my piece focused specifically on how AI can be integrated with legacy systems in the manufacturing area. So I talked a lot about how since the beginning of Industry 4.0, we've had the revolution from using checklists and paper sheets into having PLC programs and into process development and digitization, and now finally to AI. And how does AI interconnect with all these systems? So our panel did a great job at using that perspective in different contexts and different industries. What I saw as a common recurring theme in that was most panelists divided their AI usage into two. One was systemic and strategic use of AI, and the other was operational use of AI. So the systemic being your everyday workflows, framing your work instructions, but then taking it one step ahead into integrating it into your PLC systems, integrating into your KPIs and your dashboards that you use on the daily with the data that we collect. But the operational piece of AI was integrating it in the manufacturing. So smart manufacturing with sensors that can pick up equipment noise and predict failures from equipment ends and how that trickles down to quality. And we had amazing questions. So very enriching, very insightful, great conversation there.
Glad to hear. I know it's one of our most popular workshops. So
Yeah.
Well done. So could you tell us next about how you got started in quality?
Yeah, and I appreciate that question. It's funny enough because I did a bachelor's in chemical engineering, so no experience of quality whatsoever. And I did a minor in engineering leadership and development, which exposed me to the leadership aspect of manufacturing. And the boom that conducted by Industry 4.0 led me into my first role at K-Safe Technologies, where I was predictive maintenance technical analyst. And what I did over there was look at data from different clients that we used to work with and their equipment health data and predicting failures before they occurred. So my background started in reliability and systems engineering, and that really doubled down my quality lens. So even before knowing that I could work in the quality space, because I did not know if people could make careers out of here, I started in reliability, and that was my building block to quality. So I applied for a process engineer role in the current company I work at, Johnson Matthey, and I was interested in doing chemical process technology and engineering. And funny enough, the engineering manager for process development wasn't available on the day, and the quality manager instead took my interview. And they saw something in me that made them believe that I would excel in quality, and it was the rest is history. I realized that I had developed some skills along the way in reliability and systems engineering, and learned a lot during college that I did not know could be applied in quality assurance, quality control, and quality engineering, and the rest is history. So that's how I began my career in quality.
So can you tell us, what do you think is the hardest part about starting new quality projects or technologies? Is there some kind of struggle you've seen?
Yeah, so, and I'm a big advocate for this. So I've seen struggle within quality for projects or, big technologies or just within the industry in general, whether it's in pharmaceutical or manufacturing. Professionals like me, professionals who've been in the industry for years, what I've seen a common theme occurring in struggle is creating systems that stick. So creating systems that are sustainable. And what I have a saying for this is like, pilot fast and scale slow. So if it's a system that you want to begin, if it's a technology-based system, or if it's a technical system, or if it's a quality assurance or a quality control-based system, whether that's working with ISO or working with quality management systems, and you want to develop something and you want to take on a big project, begin doing that and pilot it fast. So there's a saying, fail fast, right? Create systems, fail fast, learn the pitfalls, and develop it as you go. It's imperative to begin with systems instead of dwelling on it, and then iterating each step of the way and improving it. And that's the continuous improvement mindset. So scaling can take a long time, but piloting should really begin and on the early stages. And that is what I've seen If you implement that kind of a mindset, systems end up being more sustainable because you get buy-in early on from whether that's from leadership or whether that's from their colleagues or industry experts, because you have a working case. You have begun doing the work instead of planning for doing the work. And oftentimes I would say this, planning is more important than the actual plan. A plan is useless, but the planning part of it is the most useful part. So you do the planning and you begin the work. So you just do the work, and as you go, you iterate on those systems and create sustainable systems along the way. And you take the user feedback. So the people who are on the end user of it, the user experience, whether that's a product or a service or a technology, you hold them in the decision making. You hold them in the ownership. And that's what really helps iterate those systems, like I mentioned, and then create ownership and create systems that stick sustainably. So I've seen that being a recurring theme in the industry with folks like mine who struggle with that part.
That makes sense. And that leads into my next question. What advice would you have for other quality professionals, maybe in your similar situation, who are kind of just getting started? What would you recommend?
Yeah, so one thing I'd recommend quality folks coming in the industry, even if they've been in the industry for long enough, is to be proactive. I think a lot of the times manufacturing, we're changing that now with the age of AI, we're very accustomed to being reactive to our approach. So only when systems fail do we take something seriously. Only when equipment's break down or we see supplier issues or customer complaints do we actually, put up our socks and start working towards a solution. But I think having a proactive approach to, problems or your systems can give you a lens that you do not have. And growing into this industry with a proactive approach is where I connect the dots with AI. Use AI to your advantage. I like saying this, that AI is a tool that doesn't get tired. It's a great brainstorming tool, and instead of using it to get answers to your questions, ask it to ask you better questions to problems. Because in reframe angles that human minds can't go to the depths of. And we're limited in our capacity to look at problems through every angle, but AI can be used to look at all angles and then some, and then dig deeper into the core problem. And that really helps with a proactive approach. Before problems arise, looking at what problems can arise helps you have a system engineering mindset, helps you have a system thinking mindset. And so that's an advice I would like to give quality folks, is to enter the industry with those skill sets in the systems thinking and systems engineering, because in the next 5 years, quality roles are going to transform massively. They're not going to look like what they look like today. Most of your systemic workflows, whether that's CAPA documentation, non-conforming material flows, or incoming inspections, or just working within quality assurance and quality control, that's all going to change because of generative AI, because of agentic AI. All of those workflows are going to become automated. And so the future roles of quality engineering or the quality professionals are going to look like data architectures. So quality folks would have to have diverse knowledge on data management, because what's getting fed into the AI is data and how we eliminate data silos. So that is something that feeds into the proactive approach too. Something that I've been doing within my current role is digitalization. A lot of the process and reporting and traceability and record keeping is done manually, and how can we move towards digitization and keeping a shared language for that data? So the language that my quality department uses, is that the same language being shared within maintenance or procurement? And if we can align that language, in the future, what that's going to do is eliminate data silos and feed that into our AI systems. That's going to almost like give you agentic and generative solutions to problems before they arise, and predictive analytics. And so one question when we look back into our panel from yesterday that came up was, where do people draw the line between analytics and AI, and analytics and industry 5.0? And what I mentioned to that is, I don't think there is a line that you need to draw between one ending and the second one beginning, but rather they kind of run parallel, and they will run parallel until they blend into one, which will be AI analytics. Instead of AI and analytics existing as two separate work streams, they're going to combine themselves as one, and quality folks will have to become systems engineers and develop those skill sets and be more proactive in their approach with the help of code. So that's my advice: is use AI to your advantage because it's a great brainstorming tool, and be proactive in your approach.
Oh, that's great. It seems like makes a lot of sense at every level. Being proactive, no matter what the technology is important, and of course, accepting and using new technology is also important. And UID helps people, move on in their career and get the most out of the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that there's a trend in accepting change, and that's completely normal. Change is hard, change is uncomfortable, but it's in those moments of discomfort that the most growth happens, that exponential growth happens. With each day that we're moving towards Industry 5.0, there is increase within the usage of AI in every realm and industry you can think of. So whether that's AI being used in transportation, AI being used in government services, or quality for that matter, within manufacturing. And what the world looks like is very exciting. And being proactive helps you kind of stay ahead of the curve, because AI is not fictional anymore. Being proactive is not fictional anymore. It is the curve. You are in that realm. And so accepting and adopting those mindsets using quality frameworks that we have built on years is going to only accelerate our adoption to that.
So can you give us an example of a quality initiative you've worked on that you thought went really well, or was like a good experience you guys?
Yeah, that's a great question. So just to give you a little bit of a context, I began my role in quality assurance about 2 years ago now within a specific business unit within Johnson Matthey that's making a very niche product, Catacell SSR, and that's a stackable structural reactor that goes in. So their entire production was moved into Savannah region, and they had to reestablish some of the quality workflows. They had an ISO 9001 certification. Revamping a lot of those quality initiatives was something very cool, and I was at the forefront of leading that quality initiative of doing the groundwork. So whether that was reestablishing conforming control systems, reestablishing an entire CAPA system, training tools and giving the knowledge to other engineers on quality first approach, managing a quality management system from scratch, and developing a quality manual that has in place sustainability and AI and the use of data at the core of it. So something cool in the broad stream that I just mentioned was two things. One of them was digitization. So working on the digitizing our data and our records. And we began with using them on Excel and transforming them to SharePoint, and now having digital dashboards and business intelligence dashboards that already take those insights from the data we feed in for quality data, whether that's having a product that failed, quarantining material, rejecting and scrapping material, all the way to supplier management and quality management system procurement, and digitizing those systems in place so that we have insights that we don't have to spend 50 minutes digging into, but rather have a snapshot in time of those quality initiatives, of those quality data. That's something very cool I recently worked on. And the second piece I worked on, because I have experience in being a quality engineer on the automotive industry, LPAs, being low process audits, very popular. It's a very strategic thing that automotive industry does to ensure discipline and visibility across all layers of the organization in manufacturing. And so I moved into a non-automotive sector, into Catalyst Technologies, business division within Johnson Matthey. And what they're doing is also very imperative because the technology that they're working on is intricate, it's systemic, it's complex. It really works on emission control, and it's performance-based product. So the product has to perform well in order to clean our emissions, in order to clean our environment and our air. And those things matter more for technologies we're working on. So I took that proactive approach of layer process auditing from automotive sector, and I deployed it in the Catalyst Technology sector, where nobody had heard about layer process auditing before. And so created a system from scratch for layer process auditing using Visual Basics, and I coded a lot of Visual Basics on Excel, created templates, and involved the operators who were working on the front lines to have ownership and guide the process. So created that layer process audit system and deployed it within the organization by training individuals like engineers And now we've seen a rise in, having proactive approach, not just from my side, not just from the quality guy sector, but from continuous improvement engineers, from R&D engineers, from manufacturing engineers being involved in that proactive mindset because they're doing their audits from the first layer, building on supervisors and managers on layer 2, and then all the way up to senior leadership being involved in Gemba logs across a manufacturing unit that makes a very complex product. And that was a very cool project to work on, and we've seen significant improvement in our process, which also leads me into mentioning something negative about that, right? Because there's a flip side to the coin. Quality industry has a lot of positives, but the negatives is when everything is working fine, when everything is working well, the products don't have a quality issue, visibility drops. And we don't accredit the systems we put in place in the first place that enhance the process. So it's really cool to see the positives work, but that hand in hand to do that was visibility. His visibility drops when systems are working just fine, But I'm hoping that as time advances, as AI booms into our industry, that we're able to integrate those or make our processes better.
Wow, that's so interesting. It's such a good point. Of course, when things are going well, the one says, like, good job, quality department, nothing is wrong, So it reminds me of like a building if you decided to be fireproof or something. There's a fire, someone rushes in and you're the hero. Same idea. So I think those are all the time we have for questions now, but is there anything else you want to mention or include?
I think I want to encourage younger quality professionals to be more proactive and take on in charge of their career. One thing I would like to mention that I'm also an advocate for is by some reports that are generated by Deloitte and McKinsey, by 2030, 3.8 million manufacturing jobs are going to be lost because a lot of the people in the industry are going to retire and move on. And that's going to leave a very big gap for younger industry folks like myself to take on leadership roles. And if I'm being honest with you, Gen Z industry professionals are going to be the most proficient in taking on those roles, and they are the most volume of industry professionals that are entering the industry now. But we don't have the tool sets or the guidance or the tribal knowledge, if you will, to take on those roles. So highly encourage folks listening to this, if you work for an industry and you've been in the industry for several years, you have tribal knowledge, pass the baton, train the new industry professionals coming in, develop frameworks for them to take on these leading charges. Generation Z, according to some reports, 48% of Generation Z that's coming into this workforce, into the manufacturing roles, specifically quality roles, don't intend to stay for more than 8 months in that role because of how fragmented the systems are, because of how non-developmental the systems are. And so something I would like the listeners to know is take that piece of data and get motivation, right? Prepare your next generation of leadership to take on these roles, to prepare them to step on these critical roles that care about product quality, service quality, and the end user. Like, just imagine, for an example, your quality department not existing yet in your manufacturing firm. What does that mean, right? Does that make your product quality go up or low? And if it does any impact to it, there's your answer. So something that I wanted to mention was that. Thank you for asking.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone being here today, and thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. A lot of great insights, and it's hard to believe you've only been in the industry a short time. You seem like such an expert.
Thank you so much for the award, and I'm so honored by Quality Magazine to receive it and be known as an expert in the industry at a early career professional. So very encouraging. Thank you so much.